13. Tavares, plenty of time. Can take a shot over the middle. Brzezinski has it, extends, and he is in for a 13-yard touchdown.
Live from our Seton Hill University studios, this is Westmoreland on the Gridiron on the Westmoreland Sports Network. Here's your host, Sean Myers.
And we welcome you into another episode of Westmoreland on the Gridiron here on the Westmoreland Sports Network, talking high school football across Westmoreland County. I'm Sean Myers, and that man with that beautiful hat on is the one and only Dan Flickinger.
Got to show off the merch, Sean. Got to show off the merch.
Yeah, you got a little custom product there. I'm sure people are going to be asking where they can buy that now.
I do. Yeah, it's not on sale yet. We got to drive people there first. We got to drive up the interest. Then we put it on sale.
That sounds like a great plan. Well, Flick, we got a lot to get to, more than just your hat this week. We're going to run down all of the scores from week one. Yes, it's the second week of high school football. It's called week one because we start in week 0. It gets confusing, whatever. Don't worry about that. Just worry about the fact that we'll have all the scores from across Westmoreland County, including a college football game as well. We will have our top performers, plays of the week, of course. We'll talk to Benny Hoffer, the head coach of the Yacht Cougars, as they are off to a 2-0 start, and a week 2 preview looking at some pretty significant games across Westmoreland County this upcoming weekend. But we'll begin with our biggest takeaways, and you can't get much bigger than a 3-overtime thriller, one that went in favor of Greater Latrobe as they edged the Plum Mustangs 42-35 in 3 overtimes. And this was much needed for the Wildcats. They had a very disappointing week 0 showing. They were able to bounce back in dramatic fashion against a Plum team that was riding high. And no doubt AJ Yeboah is one of the stars of this, but to win 3 overtimes, you have to find a way to get a stop, and they did that in the final overtime as well. So we'll see. First victory for Coach Tom McIntyre. Maybe this serves as a springboard for them to build off of as well.
Yeah, congratulations to Coach Mac, but you mentioned AJ Yeboah. Holy cow. I mean, talk about splashing onto the scene as just a sophomore and scoring 3 touchdowns in overtime. All 3 possessions, he caps off the possessions with touchdowns in overtime to win the game. I mean, that's something that you will never forget, not just for Yeboah, but anybody on the Cats or really on Plum that night as well. But just a tremendous, thrilling game. And, you know, Latrobe came this close to losing the game twice. Olivia Bigger, the kicker for Plum, had a 19-yard chip shot, and she doinked it off the field goal upright. That was right at the end of regulation. She hits that. Plum wins. And then Latrobe goes on defense first in overtime. So each team gets 4 plays from the 10-yard line. Plum scores on their first possession. Latrobe gets the ball. They have 4th down and goal at the 1-yard line. And obviously, if they don't score there, they lose. Well, guess what? AJ Yeboah gets his first of 3 touchdowns, ties the game. And then Latrobe scores first on its second possession on a great run, by the way, by AJ. Broke a couple of tackles from the 5-yard line. He scores again. Plum comes back and scores to make it whatever the score was. It was tied at that point. And then Latrobe
35
scores.
all.
Yes, and then that's right. Then Latrobe scores to make it 42-35 on their third possession. This time a 4-yard run on 3rd down by Yeboah. And the Wildcats able to get that huge stop to end the ball game. And when you're that close to losing a couple of times, it makes winning even more thrilling. And that's exactly what the Cats tasted last week. It was really just a tremendous effort by the defense there at the end of the game. But again, Yeboah, you know, on 1st down, the first 2 possessions of overtime, Latrobe didn't do much. So he had to, run the football down to the goal line a couple of times. Score again from 5 yards out, 4 yards out, and so a great individual effort by him, one that he'll never ever forget.
And there's significance also in the fact that Plum is a fellow 5A opponent, so they're not conference foes anymore. In past years, Plum and Greater Latrobe have been in the same conference. Plum no longer in the Big East, but it's a little bit of a litmus test for these teams, and maybe when we get to where the Wildcats were at the end of last year, which is hoping to get a wild card berth, a game like this could sway things in their favor. You never know. I mean, it's so early in the season that things will likely play out based on how they do in conference play. But if it comes down to, right on the cusp of getting in the playoffs, a game like this could make the difference.
Yeah, we always talk about that, and I know that you can't necessarily worry about that as a team, but non-conference wins, as you mentioned, when it comes down to tiebreakers or what team you're going to take in and what team you're going to leave out, that does hold some water at the end of the year. Again, conference play is the most important thing, but it does hold some weight. So a win in this game as opposed to a loss will only benefit Latrobe in the future. The one interesting thing to kind of keep an eye on, Dom Scarton was banged up in the game. Latrobe quarterback. He did come back in. He did play in overtime, but he was banged up a bit. So we'll see, what his availability will be for Norwin. I'd imagine that he will play this week, but he was banged up a bit in the victory over Plum.
Had a decent effort, 140 yards through the air and a couple of touchdowns.
Yeah, he did very well. Yeah.
Well, a team that did better than very well is the Hempfield area Spartans. They are now 2-0 and two impressive victories. I think going into the season, if you said they're playing North Hills, they're playing Franklin Regional, you would say those are two tough foes, but they've passed with flying colors. 31-14, they win in Murraysville against the Panthers. A couple of guys really, well, maybe 3 or 4 guys really stood out. Dom Dietrich was good again, threw for over 200, used his legs to rush for nearly 70. Aiden Steinbeiser's become a very legitimate running back threat, and Jack Kopis impacting the game as a receiver and on the defensive end as well. We knew that the Spartans would probably take a step forward because they returned so much from a year ago. That doesn't always translate to victories in conference play, but I think we're seeing through 2 weeks, they do look like a better team than they did in 2024.
And they have a lot of playmakers. I mean, Dom Dietrich has the experience. He's good, and he makes the smart plays. Jack Kopis gives him a great weapon on the outside. Jack also had an interception return for a touchdown to kind of ice the game against Franklin Regional. Brock Heisler made some plays. Obviously, a D1 talent. He's going to be there and keep making those plays, along the line. And then, again, Aiden Steinbeiser, you're right. I mean, he's a legitimate threat out of the backfield, running the ball or catching the ball. So it's nice to see that they do have threats kind of around the field, and hopefully they can keep that kind of going as they move forward here. The game was interesting, though, Sean, because Hempfield goes up 14-0. It looks like they're going to go up 21-0 and maybe mercy roll Franklin Regional. They had first down and goal from the 1-yard line, and they took, I believe it was a false start penalty to move them back to the 6, and they didn't score. And then all of a sudden, Franklin Regional ties it up at 14-14. And you're wondering, I remember saying to Nick D'Onofrio at halftime, going, how's this game tied at 14-14? I think I was talking to Bill Beckner about it too, because it just seemed like, Hempfield was going to run away with it. Give Franklin Regional a ton of credit, man. And Jet Taylor was just awesome, especially in the first half. That's one thing that Hempfield shored up in the second half, and maybe that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on, their running defense, because it did not look good in the first half. They let up a lot of yardage to Jet Taylor, did a great job, and again had that game tied at 14. Hempfield took over the game, I think, in the second half and really, were able to take advantage of some things. And keep in mind, too, Franklin Regional was without a couple of players, including Jameer Austin. A couple of players got thrown out, ejected in the Plum game the week before. Because
which I want to note, Plum also, as a result.
That's true. Yeah, they were without some players against Latrobe. That's a good point. So both of those teams, but talking about Franklin Regional specifically here, they were without a couple of kids, and they also had, I believe, an injury or two, and then they had an injury during the game as well. So, I mean, they were up against it as it was. So I think that, Lance Getsy's probably at least happy with his team's fight in the game to have that game tied at 14 at halftime before Hempfield ended up running away with it.
I do want to ask from your perspective, I know that there was some stuff on social media about a pretty serious injury to Cole DeVola.
Yes.
And I believe that he left in an ambulance. Is that correct?
He did. It was scary because as soon as he went down, the stretcher came out. Like, it was pretty immediate. And anytime you see that, you think broken bone immediately. We're not 100% sure. We heard some things. I'm not going to mention it, but we did hear some things on what the issue was. But, we certainly wish the best for him. He did leave in an ambulance. He was put on the stretcher. And again, it came out pretty quick. So it was a scary situation and just a tough kid to lose, Sean. I mean, he's a captain, a great player on both sides of the ball. And someone
that whole DeVola family has been so vital to Franklin Regional football.
Yeah. Yeah, and so those are the type of kids that you want on your team. Very coachable, captain, that kind of thing. So hoping the best for him.
Absolutely. So the Spartans get the victory. The Panthers surprisingly now 0-2, but they will certainly have plenty of opportunities to turn it around. A team that's also 2-0 now is Penn Trafford, and this was a super impressive victory in my eyes. They go to Mount Lebanon against a 6A school. They win 26-18, and they did it, and maybe not the way that I had anticipated, and probably not the way that many anticipated. Nate Desmond, their quarterback, who really had no varsity experience playing the position prior to this year, is very efficient. 15 of 23, 222 yards, and a couple of touchdowns. Nick Ponko is on the receiving end of the vast majority of those. They had to throw the football. I'm not sure what the issue with Ben Grabowski was, but he had just 4 carries for 14 yards. That's the guy who had been carrying them offensively in, the win against Norwin and what you figured would be their bell cow all season long. So I would assume the game plan, if he's healthy, is to still use a lot of Grabowski, but they showing that they could win a game with the passing game against a very good 6A opponent, that has to make John Rowan happy.
Absolutely. And if you think about it, Sean, they've used bell cows a lot the last several years, even when they won a state championship. Carter Green, don't get me wrong, great player. He ran the ball really well, and he ran the offense really well, just a winner. But I wouldn't say that, he was the best passer in Penn Trafford history. I mean, they were able to run the football. Of course, with Tasso Whipple, the last few years have been able to run the football. And then, coming into this year, you're thinking Grabowski would be that bell cow, and he still, I believe, will be. But you're right, he did. He got banged up in the game. From what I understand, he did come back in, but just to have 4 carries, obviously there was something plaguing him. So you're hoping it's kind of a nagging thing, not anything real serious. But it was very encouraging to see Desmond. And how about Nick Ponko stepping up big time as a playmaker? I know we'll talk about, his exact numbers later, but he was excellent in the game. 2 touchdown catches. And obviously, the defense played pretty well as well. But if you can have your quarterback and not turning the ball over, they've obviously ran into that issue maybe the last couple of years, throwing interceptions and that type of thing. Desmond did a great job of protecting the ball, finding Nick Ponko, and moving the ball through the air. So it's nice to see that, PT now has some confidence. I'm sure, Sean, you do that against a 6A school, they have to have some confidence in the passing game that they can kind of do it against anybody.
And it was a good defensive effort because Mount Lebanon's quarterback, Patrick Smith, is an absolute beast. I mean, he is a massive human being. He is a dual threat. So to limit the Blue Devils to 18 points was a victory in its own right. And you're starting to get the feeling maybe Penn Trafford could be right back in that conversation as one of the better teams in Class 5A. Well, Greensburg Central Catholic, they were expected to be one of the best teams in Class 1A. They did not look like it in their season opener. Heartbreaking loss against Shadyside Academy, although I think we're starting to see the Bulldogs are pretty darn good in their own right. Well, how did they respond? They bounced back in a massive way. They blew out Mount Pleasant 40-7, and it was a lot of Samir Crosby as expected, but maybe more pleasant of a surprise. Bobby Smith-Mosky was really, really good after we talked about his struggles in week 0. We speculated, would he be the guy that they could lean on at that position all season long, or would they have to shift Crosby back there? Well, I think you love seeing what he did in a homecoming for him because he is a Mount Pleasant guy. We covered both of his sisters in softball. Yeah. He playing back in Mount Pleasant was terrific, and Crosby was a big beneficiary. 137 yards receiving, 102 yards rushing.
It makes GCC's offense really scary when Smith-Nosky can be productive at quarterback. As you said, we speculated last week, and I said it, you try to start the season by moving Samir out in space, try to get him the ball out in space and things of that nature, try to keep the wear and tear off of him getting hit at quarterback. That was kind of the plan going in for GCC to that Shadyside game, but then all of a sudden, Samir moves back at quarterback when things aren't going great. Well, they did go great against Mount Pleasant, and Bobby was very, very good, and they were able to do what I just said. They were able to get, Crosby out into space. They were able to give him the football, rushing-wise, and that makes them more of a dynamic offense when you can have Smith-Nosky and a quarterback, I think, and Crosby, kind of the gadget guy. And then, of course, you still have those packages for Samir to go back in at quarterback and run the football here and there. But again, I think that keeps him more healthy and gives Bobby, too. Like, let's face it, Samir's a senior. Smith-Nosky, I believe, is a sophomore, Sean. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're going to be getting him experience at quarterback for the future. So I think it's a win-win if GCC can continue to do this. On Mount Pleasant's side, man, I mean, they had a really good half, certainly against Jeanette, but GCC kind of dominated them on Friday. And I know they also are dealing with some injuries. I believe Pradina went down in the game. So
he was out. He was out from the start, and then they lost one of their other running backs, I believe, on the first play. Eicher went out with injury.
That's
so they were. I mean, you hate being that shorthanded that early in the season. Now you hope, okay, it's a non-conference game. Maybe these are, injuries that are going to be more short term, and once you get deeper into your season, you'll have those guys back when it really matters. But they looked a little overwhelmed against the Centurions. And I will say this: I know GCC's not thinking about the guys who are no longer there. But Landon Honick transferred to Elizabeth Forward, and he has been unbelievable for the Warriors. So Mount Pleasant's going to end up seeing him eventually anyway. I do wonder if he had stuck around, would they have kept Crosby at quarterback? But with his departure, I think they had a little bit of a void to fill at receiver because Honick was really, really good for them last year. And now they have Crosby there as a receiver, over 100 yards. They've got Jerry Davis, who's got game-breaking ability as well. So I think ultimately the move is going to pay major dividends. And when you see a performance like this from Smith-Nosky, certainly it seems like it maybe was the right move and will be when it continues throughout this season. That's going to do it for the biggest takeaways. We will take a break, but we've got plenty more to get to. We'll run down all of the scores across Westmoreland County from week one. We'll look at the top performers as well. And a little bit later, plays of the week. We will also hear from the Yacht Cougars head coach Benny Hoffer and a week two preview. That's as we continue right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
Game day or any day, the power of Bowser is here to get you where you need to go. From the latest Hyundai, Nissan, Subaru, Chevrolet, GMC, Buick, and Genesis models to quality pre-owned vehicles, Bowser has the perfect lineup for your drive. Look for a winning deal. Bowser's got the plays, great financing, top trade-in values, and a selection that's always in season. From the first whistle to the final buzzer, Bowser Automotive is your hometown MVP. Bowser Automotive, Route 51 South on top of the hill. PowerofBowser.com.
DBAT Pittsburgh East, the area's premier baseball and softball training academy, is now open in Westmoreland County. Our 20,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility features dual fungo man pitching machines, hit tracks enabled cages, and professional bullpens. With private baseball and softball instruction, we're here to help you dominate the diamond. And don't forget to stop into our pro shop, powered by Rawlings and Easton, for the latest gear. DBAT Pittsburgh East, now open in export. Visit dbatpiteast.com.
We roll along here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron each and every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Sean and Flick coming to you. Of course, we will be back next Wednesday and another Wednesday and all the way into hopefully mid-November, which means that our Westmoreland County teams are making some deep postseason runs. But we are now 2 weeks down. Let's take a look at all the scores from, again, a little confusing, week one, which is the second week of the regular season. We touched on some of these already. You can go back and watch Hempfield area's 31-14 victory over Franklin Regional. You could also go back and watch the game that I did. Norwin blows out Kiski area 42-7, 6 touchdowns by 5 different players for the Knights. And if there was any question how they would rebound after that heartbreaking loss, I think they passed that test with flying colors.
Yeah, I'd say that's a feel-good game, a get-right game for Norwin. And I have a feeling they're going to continue that momentum, against Latrobe. We'll see how the game goes. But offensively, the Knights look pretty darn good right now.
And their defense was really, really good against the Cavaliers. It was super impressive for the Knights. I think both they and the Spartans are going to be significantly better this year. Freeport area blows out Derry 49-6. Trojans just really could not get it going against the Yellow Jackets. Jeanette 35, Apollo Ridge 22. Well, it was a little bit of a reversal of fortune for the Jayhawks. They gave up all those unanswered points in the second half against Mount Pleasant. They ran off 35 in a row against the Vikings, and Kimani Brown and Jace Powell again front and center.
Yeah, always fun to watch them play pitch and catch for sure. And Jeanette was actually down in that game 7-0 early, but you mentioned reeled off and kind of ran away with it.
Did Anthony and Brent enjoy their trip to historic Owens Field?
Owens Field. You made sure that I told them it was at Owens Field, but they knew. They already knew. Yeah, I think they were excited about it. They were happy about it. I didn't really get a chance to talk. They should have said something in their recap about it. The new recaps that are on social media after all the games.
I asked Ricky Pitzer, our videographer extraordinaire, who is a Jeanette grad. I said, "Do you remember Jeanette playing Apollo Ridge?" And he said, "Yeah, I think every other cycle, maybe we were in there with the Vikings." So I figured that Jeanette guys probably were familiar, but it's one of the few remaining fields that's not at the high school. Of course, we know Greater Latrobe doesn't play at the high school, but I would say probably 80 to 90% of high school fields now are at the high school. So anytime there's one that isn't.
Obviously, Offutt's one that is not.
Correct. Yeah. They are outliers. And Owens Field is it's over 100 years old, even though they've renovated it. So that's one of the cool ones to visit.
I kind of miss, Sean. I kind of miss the old Kiski Field, and I forget what was it called again in Vandergrift?
Davis
Field, yes.
I told you I was very upset that I never got to do a game there.
Oh, I did. Actually, Penn Trafford, it was maybe one of the years they went to the Whitfield Championship. They lost to Kiski that year, and I remember them not necessarily complaining that it was a grass field, but it was something different for them to play on, and they were slipping around, and they ended up losing the game kind of big early on that year. And I think the
field's still there, so maybe I'll just go and see if I can work
pretend.
my way into go into the press.
We can get
box.
some of our camera guys. Lorenzo, you just played quarterback not that long ago at St. Vincent, one of our camera guys. We'll get him to throw the ball around.
It sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
And we'll see if anyone tries to arrest us when we break into this. Anyway, Penn Trafford 26, Mount Lebanon 18. We talked about that big win for the Warriors. We also highlighted Greater Latrobe's 3 overtime thriller, 42-35. Again, congrats to Coach Tom McIntyre, his first victory in just his second try, guiding the Wildcats. A little more lopsided than many would have expected. Aliquippa 42, Bell Vernon area 7. This is probably not the best version of Aliquippa that we've seen over the past handful of years. They lost some really good players. A couple transferred out of state, one to a powerhouse in Maryland, one to IMG Academy. Had another Division I bound player transfer to Moon. So they're probably not the same caliber as some of the best Quips teams, but they're still awfully good. They have Coach Warfield now back again guiding that program. And for Scott Breyer, a tough way to start his head coaching career. This really never had a chance. The only thing that they did was got a kickoff return touchdown by Chase Petrosky. Other than that, it just seemed like not a good way for them to start their season.
Yeah, Bell Vernon just lost so much over the last few years. And, when you go up against an Aliquippa, and it really is amazing, Sean, you mentioned all the guys that transfer out. Again, this is a AA school or single A. I think they might be AA now, playing 2 classifications above in 4A and still doing this type of thing. And I know Bell Vernon's down and that type of thing, but they lose these guys and they're playing 4 classifications up and they're a AA school and they're still able to beat another 4A school. So it's absolutely amazing they continue doing this, and we'll see how they kind of fare against some of the bigger dogs in 4A.
Yeah, and remember last year they played just over a quarter of the game and then ultimately it was canceled because of, I believe, lightning and whatnot. So we finally got to see there was a rematch of a championship game a few years ago that the Quips won as well. Greensburg Central Catholic, as we highlighted, 40-7, winning at Mount Pleasant. This one came down to the wire. Greensburg Salem 14, Ligonier Valley 12. And I think that, to be completely honest, Greensburg Salem got a little lucky that the Rams were without their kicker because they had to go for 2 points, did not convert either time. And then they had maybe a situation late where they probably would have tried to kick a winning field goal. You don't have a kicker, you can't do that. So I'm sure Roger Beidel is not going to make any excuses because they still had chances to win. But for the Golden Lions to kind of escape with that victory, a big sigh of relief. That said, they still have some work to do if they want to get back to where they were a year ago. Southmoreland flick 49-7 over East Allegheny. And this Scotty's team, although they don't have Anthony Smith anymore, they are still looking pretty potent on offense.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I know we're going to talk about Darnell's big game as well, but Dawson Wolf threw 4 touchdowns, and they are clicking right now offensively for sure, and that's great to see under a new head coach in Dustin Schoaf.
Yeah, he is now 2-0. Well, talking about clicking offensively, that's what the Yaw Cougars did. 42-7 over Charleroi. John Gurgley, 140 yards and 3 touchdowns. We will hear more about that victory when I talk to Benny Hoffer, their head coach, in just a little while. Shadyside Academy wins 56-26 over Burrell, but the Buccaneers' new quarterback, Antonio Perkins, had a nice game. He accounted for all 4 of their touchdowns, rushing for over 150 yards. He is a transfer from Valley. Well, Valley certainly could have used him because the Vikings were shut out 35-0 on Saturday against Riverview. Monessen scores a 34-18 victory over West Green. And on Thursday night, college football action kicked off for Seton Hill, and the Griffins suffered a tough one. They fell 24-21 against Fairmont State. You can go back and watch that one. Kyron Craig had 2 touchdowns, both in the fourth quarter. A little bit of surprise at quarterback. Bowden St. Marie threw a touchdown, but just 8 of 23. It feels a lot like what we've seen many times over, Flick. Really close, had the opportunity, just kind of maybe 1 or 2 plays they left out there on offense.
Yeah, and I mean, they're down 24-7. They make it 24-21. And what a way for a football game to end, like a crushing way for Seton Hill, because they're down by 3 points. Fairmont State runs the football. The running back gets stood up, what was it, 3rd down and 8 or 3rd down and 9 or something like that in their own territory. The running back does not get the first down, gets tackled, and then Seton Hill takes a unsportsmanlike a personal foul penalty to result in a first down for no reason. Seton Hill gets the ball back. They stop them. They get the ball back, and there's still time left to get a field goal. And on first down, they take a sack, and then the sideline gets a penalty on them because they had a sideline warning earlier. They get a flag thrown on them for coming onto the field or whatever. And now, instead of 2nd down and 11, it's 2nd down and 26. That's how the game ended for Seton Hill. It just some crazy stuff there, man. Even though they were down 24-7, give them credit, they battled back and nearly were able to, get the game-tying field goal, at least an attempt for it, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, heartbreak. We talk about a lot of new coaches. Kevin May, 0-1, awfully close to getting his first victory. Maybe it'll happen this Saturday. We'll quickly look at the top performers from week 1, passing, rushing, and receiving. This is top across the entire WPIAL and then several in Westmoreland County. 357 yards for Javon Johnson of Shadyside Academy. Johnston has really had a breakout season. 14 of 19, 357. That is a massive number. Bobby Smith-Noski, leading Greensburg Central Catholic, throws for 223. Nate Desmond, just 1 yard behind, 222 on 15 of 23 for the Warriors. Hempfield area's Dom Dietrich, 10 of 18 for 201 yards. Kimani Brown of Jeanette, 8 of 16 for 180. And Brody Chismar, 173 yards for Greensburg Salem. The top rusher by way of Blackhawk, it is Braden McCarthy, 327 yards on the ground. Top performer in Westmoreland County was the aforementioned Antonio Perkins for Burrell, 154. Jet Taylor just behind, 153 for the Franklin Regional Panther. Then it's 140 for John Gurgley of Yaw. Samir Crosby, 122 yards for GCC. And Aiden Steinbeiser in the Hempfield victory ran for 103. And the top receiver, 158 yards for Noah Sakani of Baldwin on 10 receptions. Nick Ponko not far behind, Penn Trafford's own, 8 catches for 151. Then it's Samir Crosby, 147 yards receiving for Greensburg Central Catholic on 7 catches. And Henry Muchler of Hempfield, 3 grabs for 92 yards. That'll do it for the top performers as well as the rundown of the week 1 scoreboard. We'll take a break, but you do not want to go anywhere because when we come back, it is the always popular plays of the week. We got plenty you're going to want to see. That's coming next right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
The prevention of youth and adult substance abuse in our communities is so important, and our goal at CSAE is to do just that. CSAE works to provide education, encourage recovery, and create social change.
Join us at CSAE.
Because to see the change, you have to be the change.
Smale Kia's summer sticker sales event is on. Look for specially tagged vehicles for extra savings. And with over 100 vehicles in stock and more on the way, now's the time. Get 1.9% APR for up to 60 months on 2025 Kia Sportage Ice and Kia Sereno Ice. Save $300 to $500 when you buy or lease with VIN-specific bonus cash. And every new Kia comes with Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Look for the stickers and look for the savings at Smale Kia.
We continue here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron. Still a lot to get to. We, of course, have our interview with the Arc head man, Benny Hoffer, and we'll look ahead to week 2 with some enticing games across the county. But, Flick, it is now time for Plays of the Week. Are you ready?
I'm ready for it, baby. Let's do it.
All right, let's start. We begin with the Norwin Knights, and they open the home portion of their schedule with a dominant win against Kiski area, enacting the mercy rule. A second quarter connection between Tristan Tavares and Potter Brzeski opened up a 2-score lead, with myself and Brian Brzeski providing the commentary.
From the 13, Tavares, plenty of time. And take a shot over the middle. Brzeski has it, extends, and he is in for a 13-yard touchdown.
Yeah, I tell you what, give Tristan a lot of credit right there. What he did is he showed patience. Potter was a little bit indecisive about what hole he's going to find. He went to the second hole, second window in the curl, and Tristan just delivered a beautiful ball. And then Potter getting upfield, able to use his length to go ahead and stretch the ball in and get a touchdown right there.
Typical dad right there. He wants to give credit to somebody else first, talking about how Tristan showed that great patience. He did. But Potter, man, he has that size. He has that length to be able to do things like that. That was really nice. I think we're going to see that a lot this year, Sean. He showed out. Those two guys, the connection against Penn Trafford, and then it showed up against Kiski again.
Yeah, he also had a very nice interception defensively with Brzeski. Didn't quite make plays of the week, however. We continue with Derry area. I know that the Trojans are on the wrong side of a lopsided outcome against Freeport. Max Doherty provided another highlight as his bruising touchdown run in the second quarter kept Derry in the game, as called by John Flickinger and Bob Lisinski.
Donovan and Pakuga over there as extra blockers. Doherty will have his best carry of the night as he's headed to the end zone. Touchdown, Trojans. Max Doherty kept the legs churning, found a little crack, and exploited it. And the Trojans are on the board. It's 21-6.
And no penalty, John.
I know, I was waiting.
Yeah.
Did you notice?
So it's going to count.
Big touchdown at the time for the Trojans. A nice start to the season for Max Doherty. Did so against Ligonier Valley, scored some touchdowns, and then makes it 21-6 with that short carry there. But unfortunately, the Trojans just could not carry that momentum to the second half. Freeport runs away with it.
We will continue Plays of the Week with Jeanette, and while the skill players are the ones who are usually garnering the headlines for the Jayhawks, it was a defensive lineman who made perhaps the biggest play of the night at Apollo Ridge as Carmine Dianuntis snagged an interception in the second quarter of a tied game, with Brent Wiggum and Anthony D'Annunzio painting the picture.
2nd and 10 here. Clausen in the pistol. Back to pass, setting up the screen, and it's going to be picked off right in the middle of the field. Look at Carmine go. He's going to bully his way down inside the 45 to the 43. The big defensive tackle with an INT. Carmine Dianuntis was so surprised he got that football, didn't know what to do with it, kind of looked around and took off and ran over a couple Vikings. So great job, Carmine Dianuntis. And Jeanette has now forced 3 first half turnovers, 2 fumbles, 1 interception.
Sean, it's awesome giving some love to the big guy there. I mean, there were so many touchdowns scored in the game, but you got to give some love there to the big interception, the big defensive tackle, and that was pretty cool to see. Anytime you see a big guy running with the football, it's awesome.
Now, he didn't get a touchdown, but he still made a big play that
he did.
Certainly swung the momentum in favor of the Jayhawks. We continue Plays of the Week with Franklin Regional. I know the Panthers struggled for most of the night at home against Hempfield. The second quarter was a bright spot, and Jet Taylor sparked a surge with his touchdown run that got FR on the board, with Jonathan Whaley highlighting the action.
As Dan and I both would agree, we've seen enough of this man. It'll be a fantastic performance. So looking forward to that. And now they get a runner. That'll be the Jet. The Jet across the field to the right. Touchdown. 30-yard touchdown run. 35, none other than number 17 in your program, number 1 in the Panther fans' heart, Jet Taylor Jr. A 30-yard, and I want to see this again myself, Dan Flickinger. From the shotgun, hands it off at the 35, goes straight, Jet breaks it to his right, then makes another guy miss, and he makes another guy miss. Good blocker tip down that field for the Panthers, and then at that point he evades the tackler, and the Panthers are on the board with 5:28 to play in the first half.
Big run there by Jet Taylor. I swear he carried the ball on every offensive play. It seemed that way in the first half for Franklin Regional and didn't take a break either. He was absolutely huge, and he's going to be huge for the Panthers going forward. And I know Jonathan's going to have a lot of fun with the name Jet.
Absolutely. Well, we wrap up plays of the week on the other side of the field with Hempfield area because the night belonged to the Spartans, including a defensive score in the fourth quarter by Jack Kopis to seal the Hempfield victory, maybe steal it as well, with JW again on the call.
Panthers need a big distance play at this stage of the game. Hempfield area showing no sign they're going to give it up, though. Dropping back, they throw it out to the flat. It's intercepted at the 28-yard line. Touchdown. And number 3 for Hempfield, 28-yard Jack Kopis with a 28-yard interception return. Interception return by Jack Kopis. He's been contributing on the scoreboard here tonight. And that, ladies and gentlemen, could be the coup de grace. You see him step in at about the 29, and he's got nothing but green turf, and he takes it down with 3 minutes and 27 seconds left in the football game.
Tremendous read there by Jack Kopis. He just jumps in front of the pass, intercepted, returns it for 6. That always feels good to kind of salt the game away with pick 6.
Did you see Ted Kopis?
I did not see Ted Kopis at the game. We're in regular contact. He's a member of the Boosters, and we work together on sponsors and things like that, but I did not see him at the game, no.
You didn't hear him cheering loudly?
I'm sure he was there, yeah. Sure, he was yelling, I'm sure. So.
Well, Flick, that's going to do it for this edition of...
Whoa. Hold on 1 second, Sean. 1 second. I know we didn't even talk about this before the show. I'm springing something on you right now. I have a bonus play.
This is not on the script right now.
It's not, no. I don't even have your script. This is on the not plays of the week. You know how SportsCenter does the not top 10?
Mm-hmm.
We got to go back to this Hempfield game and do a not play of the week. All right, I even have my own script. It's on my phone.
My interest is piqued.
It's on my phone. By the way, is that Piqued or Paked? You're the spelling.
No, I think it's the Q.
Wizard.
Yeah, it's the Q one.
I was right the first time. Anyway, let's do this. The not top play of the week. With Hempfield leading 31-14 late in the fourth quarter, the Spartans' Xavier Smith intercepted a pass and returned it down to the 2-yard line, losing a valuable piece of clothing in the process. Jonathan Whaley has the call.
And that one's tipped, and it's intercepted at the 42-yard line. He's going to run it down to the 10, to the 5, and will be tackled short of the end zone down to about the 2. He's looking over his right shoulder. There's some contact. He escapes that. Panther grabbing his shirt, pulling down his pants. In the process, he still keeps going. He wanted that touchdown. And one of his teammates tried to help drag him into the end zone, but he couldn't do it. And they ended up getting stopped.
Yes, please.
That's a play that it didn't result in a touchdown, but that's going to be the most memorable play for anyone who was tuning in or was there.
Oh my gosh. That was sent. I sent every person I sent that to, I think sent it to like 50 people. And then, of course, you have the unsportsmanlike personal foul after that, which I know, I mean, give credit to Xavier, man. He tweeted something after the game apologizing to everybody, and Nick Kiefer said, was saying that showed leadership and all that stuff. But for us, that
showed a lot. It definitely showed a lot, Dan.
We're not a direct part of the team, so we're allowed to kind of laugh at it. And oh, my God, that'll be one we never forget for sure. And Jonathan didn't even realize it until we showed the super slow motion replay of it, which
I'm sure
Xavier loved that.
We showed a super slow motion replay, yes. All right. Well, that's like vintage Shawn Michaels 1995 circa right there.
Yes.
Anyway,
that was good. Mark Kotarski would have enjoyed that little tidbit.
Yes. Let's collect ourselves. Take a few moments to catch our breath, and then when we come back, I'll talk to Benny Hoffer and hopefully get back on track and just focus on the game of football, okay? We will hear from the head man from the Yacht Cougars, Benny Hoffer, next as we continue right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
Along the arc of a woman's life, there are many passages. Growing up, chasing dreams, building a career, embracing wisdom born of experience. There are times that make good health and well-being so vital. We provide care that helps women thrive at any age, at any stage. Independence Health System. Expert care here.
Some moments on the field go beyond the game. They shape who we become. At Home Team Collections, we honor those moments with the care and craftsmanship they deserve. Because these moments aren't just memories, they're a legacy worth preserving. Any team, any sport, any logo. Visit HomeTeamCollections.com today and save $10 off your first order.
Sean Myers here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron, now joined by the head coach of the Yacht Cougars, Benny Hoffer, as his team is off to a terrific start, 2-0 on the campaign. First off, Benny, congrats on the terrific start to 2025. I'm sure there's a lot of excitement around the program with how well your team has been playing. A blowout victory, 42-7 against Charleroi in a battle of the Cougars this past week. So when you think of the early season success, what are some of the biggest factors in that?
First off, Sean, thanks for having me. Always love whenever you and Flick cover us, and I appreciate everything you guys do for the county and especially covering the Cougars and high school sports. But I would say the biggest thing for our early success has been turning the ball over. We haven't turned it over. We've created turnovers on defense. They're playing very fast and aggressive. We're +6 in that margin, and everyone's just coming into their own, and a lot of those kids haven't had success on Friday nights until this season. So it's very exciting to see, and there's a lot of support, and everyone's really happy up there on the mountain.
You mentioned how maybe a lot of the guys had not experienced success. It was a rough finish to 2024. You got off to a 2-0 start, and then you had a long losing skid. You did get that final victory to wrap up the season. Did that carry over? Was that significant for the players coming back for the confidence to get that win to wrap up 2024 and try to springboard into this year?
Yeah, definitely. The players that played last year and moved on to this year, that definitely gave them some success and gave them some confidence moving into the season. And I also got a couple new coaches in with Scotty Hausman and Don Pecora that have just been huge pieces to this puzzle, with Scotty being an alumni from York and obviously playing 4 years at Albany. It's been huge with the run game and offense and strength and conditioning. And then Don Pecora obviously is my coaching mentor and helped me along a lot in life. And I couldn't be more thankful that they're there for the program.
A year ago, just about every time we talked about the Cougars, it was about Rayton Kuroda. He had a terrific season, rushed for more than 1,000 yards, passed for more than 1,000 yards. That's pretty rarefied air in the WPIAL. He's moved on. Now it's Seton Hill. My thought, and I'm sure many people's thoughts, were the offense will take a step back. So far, that hasn't been the case. So who are the guys that have stepped up, and how have you tried to fill that massive void?
Oh, Aiden Schaefer, moving from receiver to quarterback. He had some success on Friday nights at receiver. He's moved into this quarterback position. His speed is shown. He's commanding the huddle. Very proud and blessed to call him my quarterback, and he's had some success early on, and he's getting them out of the huddle. And also a big piece is John Gurgley. He's only a sophomore. I mean, the kid's put together. He's about 6 foot, 210. He's just running behind his pads. He's hard to tackle, and just being a sponge in the offseason has helped him tremendously. And I can't wait to see what Friday brings. And also mention them 2 other coaches before. They've obviously helped, along with Casey Teagarden, for that offense to not miss much of a beat with Rayton being gone.
You mentioned Schaefer. Obviously, he's a terrific athlete. He's run the ball pretty well for you, nearly 200 yards on the ground. He hasn't had to throw it a lot, and some of that's because your team has been playing with the lead. What do you see from him that leads you to believe that if you need to throw the football quite a bit, he can succeed doing that as well?
Oh, this week we had some success through the air. He was 5 of 7, very efficient, 73 yards and 2 touchdowns. So we know if that has to be an option, that Schaefer can provide it. And obviously throwing to a guy that's played for four years, and Ryan Sarver has been a huge help. And I can't commend the kid enough, because he knew the offense was going to be a little different this year, and he didn't complain about it. He worked really hard, and the 2 touchdowns and the 25 yards of rushing last week really gave us a spark on Friday.
You remember, I guess, what would be called the glory days for Yawk football when you played, but it's been, harder times over the past decade or so. You're very well aware of that, following the program and now leading it for a number of years. Where are you at now in terms of how you want to see this program get back to prominence, and where do you still need to take big steps?
This is where I envision it going, and this is my first group that will be seniors for 4 years that will come through the program. So they were freshmen whenever I first got here. So these kids really know the Corbins, the Ryans of the world, Jose, really understand what I want to do. And these juniors and sophomores, I have big juniors and sophomore classes that have been with me since middle school, and they really know what we're looking for on and off the field to be a great student athlete and just competing every day. And as Coach Hausman taught me, win the week was a big thing here. So now we're going to start implementing that a lot more.
Talking to Benny Hoffer, the head coach of the Yawk Cougars, here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron. Well, I mentioned a year ago it was a 2-0 start against the same opponents, Brentwood and Charleroi, and then a 7-game skid. So how do you make sure that you write a different ending this year?
I'm going through basic fundamentals at practice. Sometimes I got a little ahead of myself, and I take that ownership of that. But I need to go practice by practice, day by day, building the bricks each day to make the foundation, and teaching the kids that we just can't look ahead. It's got to be week by week, day by day. And I think if we go with that formula and not turn the ball over up there on Friday, we'll have some good success.
We follow the 3A Interstate Conference very closely here on WSN, because almost the entire conference is Westmoreland County opponents. The setup's a little difficult, I imagine, because you don't get into conference play until the 6th game of the season. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you prefer? Is it a challenge as a coach, keeping the team focused on the task at hand, knowing that the first 5 games will not count towards the section standings?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, I think, because you're trying to get your team going for a certain extent until conference play. And usually you get the first couple games that are non-conference. But like you said, Interstate only has 6 teams in it. So we do the first 5 non-conference. We actually have a stretch here where we play 3 straight 4A teams. So, I mean, it's definitely helps to get us into conference play, but it's a challenge in the essence that you usually start conference a little bit earlier. But the kids are aware of that, and I'm happy with the schedule.
Well, talking about playing a 4A opponent, the Ringgold Rams on the horizon, you make the trip to Ringgold. When you look at them on film, what jumps out?
They're fast. They're athletic. Good up front. I mean, Coach Bean Heller's done a great job in his second year. The quarterback transferred in from Monessen, Dennis Hawkins. Hawk, they call him. He's a great dual threat guy. I mean, Amani Ward at running back. He was quarterback last year. He ran for over 226 on the ground against Indiana. Runs behind his pads well. And Hawk, and they're throwing the ball to a Division I recruit out there on the edge, and Dimitri Lowe, and he can take a hitch to the house. He can take a go ball. I mean, they present a lot of problems offensively, defensively. They're flying around. They're creating problems. And even on special teams, their kicker's looking really good. I mean, there's a lot of challenges they present, but we're up and ready for the task here on Friday.
What are some of the biggest keys for your team to secure a victory?
No, we just got to, cliche, we can't turn the ball over. We got to win the turnover battle. We got to play great special teams, good field position, control the clock, control time of possession. We do those things, and Schaefer and them are doing well. I think that we're going to get a W on Friday.
Lastly, I mentioned you're a Yawk grad. I know you love the district. You love the community. When you get off to a start where you're 2-0 and you're winning games pretty impressively, do you feel a buzz? And how do you make sure that stays throughout the course of the season? Because I'm sure you can attest it's a pretty special community and support for the athletics when there are very good teams for the Cougars.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just love the Yawk so much. I came here because I did not want to fail, and I want to make this team back to the playoffs, and I'm not going to stop until that happens. And like you said, the buzz around here has been tremendous. Our first home game at Charleroi, we had fire trucks, the youth night, orange out. The place was packed. I couldn't ask for anything better from the fans. I got great administration. teachers are great up here, and the community and everything. The outpouring of success in the community has just been amazing.
Well, Benny, thank you so much for taking the time. Always enjoyed talking to you, and good luck on Friday against Ringgold and beyond.
Sean, appreciate it, brother. Thanks for the time.
It's Ben Hoffer, the head coach of the Yacht Cougars. We'll take a break and continue with more right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
Play It Again Sports in Greensburg is your locally owned and operated sporting goods store. We set ourselves apart by offering a wide variety of both new and used equipment at competitive prices. Located in the Greengate East Plaza, below Walmart, Play It Again Sports' knowledgeable staff will help you and your family prepare for every athletic season. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, or trade, we are here as your one-stop shop. At Play It Again Sports in Greensburg, everybody plays.
At Elliott Community Federal Credit Union, we're here to make your financial journey easier and more rewarding. With open membership to all that live, work, worship, or study in Westmoreland County, everyone can take advantage of our competitive loan rates, whether you're doing home improvements, buying a car, or making a personal purchase. Plus, enjoy free checking and online banking with remote deposits, so you can manage your money anytime, anywhere. Elliott Community Federal Credit Union. Make our house your financial home.
Hurry in to Mike Camlin Hyundai during the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. New 2025 Hyundai Santa Fe's and Palisades, both available with 0% financing for 60 months. All vehicles are backed by the Mike Camlin Advantage. Oil changes for life.
Welcome back to Westmoreland on the Gridiron. Sean and Dan here. Final segment. First off, we appreciate Benny Hoffer. I call him Benny. I feel like every now and then I have to call him Ben just to cover my bases. But
he's Benny.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I know he is Yacht through and through, and no one wants to get the team back to the playoffs more than him. Will it happen? Who knows? But if you're looking for positive signs, they've shown plenty of them so far 2 weeks in. So congrats to him and the Cougars, and now we'll see if they can do what they didn't last year, which is keep it up throughout the course of the season, certainly once they get into the 3A Interstate Conference as well. Well, Flick, let's look at the Week 2 schedule. There's some enticing matchups, a couple of all Westmoreland County, well, more than just a couple, several all Westmoreland County matchups that I'm looking forward to seeing. We'll begin with the games that we are going to have broadcast of. Norwin at Greater Latrobe. Two teams that are riding high. Knights on a blowout victory. Greater Latrobe with a 3-overtime thriller. Memorial Stadium, always one of the coolest spots in Western Pennsylvania. I would think you would have to favor Norwin. That said, we saw some real resilience from the Wildcats, and maybe that translates over for them as well this week.
Yeah, I think Norwin goes into that game favored, certainly. But again, like you said, Latrobe's riding high. I know Latrobe lost a lot from last year. However, that was a really entertaining game between Latrobe and Norwin last year. Unfortunately, that's when Alex Tash re-injured at least it looked like that was when he re-injured his shoulder in that game. But it was a lot of fun last year. Hopefully you can have some more fun at Memorial Stadium this year between the teams.
And I'm not sure what the status of Andy Tash is. Obviously, he is the big dog that they have this year with his older brother and Johnny Wetzel moving on to a couple local schools, certainly with Pitt and Penn State. Kiski area at Hempfield, it was a rough go for the Cavaliers. Just never really got the offense going. They actually made a change at quarterback after Avon Shirley was filling in week 0. He shifted out to his more natural position at wide receiver, but the Knights just dominated them last week. I'm assuming they're going to make some changes with their offensive game plan, but they're just going to have to be a lot better overall going against a Hempfield team that's shown some real firepower on the offensive side of the ball. That should be a good one as well. We will have video coverage of that game. Derry area at Deer Lakes. Well, the Lancers trying to knock off the Trojans, who were on the wrong side of a blowout last week at Apollo Ridge. I know your brother always checks in. What's his take so far on the Trojans through 2 weeks? Because I think they probably had to have been happy with the week 0 performance, but did they kind of give it back last week in that lopsided loss?
Yeah, and I think it was just disappointing. Mike Arone, I know that he talked to Mike after the game, and it was one of those games where, they didn't block, they didn't tackle, they didn't really do anything right. So I don't know. Maybe it's easier to move on from a game like that, just kind of forget about it, not you're not taking much from it. But I think it was just some disappointment because, again, Derry's pretty big up front. I mean, that's a way that they can win games and be physical. And we saw Sacco in that first week or week 0 against Ligonier Valley put the ball in the air a little bit, and Derry just could not do much of anything against Freeport. So I think just disappointing, and they're going to try to get back to that physical brand of football coming up this week. Last year, Derry lost to Deer Lakes 34-12, so they certainly hope to have a better showing this year.
Yeah, and I do think the Yellow Jackets are going to turn out to be a very good team this year as well. I think we'll look back and say, oh, it kind of makes sense because Freeport's really good. They've got 2 outstanding players, so no shame in losing, but I know the Trojans want to certainly be much more competitive than how they played last week. Ligonier Valley at Jeannette. It's been a kind of a few seasons of growing pains now for Roger Beidle. Remember how great they were before they came to the WPIAL. They had a couple seasons off out of the gate, but they have struggled. They're a very youthful team. And I know that they have a pretty promising freshman quarterback, and Grayson Doherty, I believe, is a sophomore. He scored their 2 touchdowns last week. The future is bright, but right now it's the present for Jeannette because they are a team destined to make a run after they got deep in the playoffs last year and returned basically everyone. I think this is a situation where Jeanette's hoping to kind of put it away relatively early.
Yeah, this will be a tough matchup for Ligonier Valley. I mean, they're young, what we've seen from them already. Jeanette's very experienced. Again, they have the playmakers everywhere. But if you're the Jayhawks, you can't make mistakes. You got to, do what you do and kind of take care of business.
And Trafford at Moon, that should be a good one. By the way, do you remember 2021, Flick? Those teams met in the WPIAL championship game.
I do. I was on the sideline standing in front of the heater.
It was, yes.
Can't get too close, though. There's a big sign. You can't get too close to them.
Yeah, well, we don't want you to spontaneously combust. I believe it was a missed field goal pretty late by the Tigers that would have tied the game that allowed the Warriors to win the championship. Of course, they went on to win a state title as well. Not quite as much on the line in this one, but that should be a good matchup as well. 2 5A schools that are typically pretty solid. Well, speaking of a 5A school that's pretty solid and maybe then some, Upper St. Clair, Panthers look like an absolute juggernaut right now. They go to Franklin Regional, and you mentioned some injuries for the Panthers. Well, they're going to have to be at their absolute best to hang with Upper St. Clair. That team is absolutely rolling. We'll see how it plays out in Murraysville. Bell Vernon area looking for a bounce back. It's not going to be that much easier. They play Aliquippa in their first game. Now they go to Beaver County, and they will play Central Valley, a team that has a terrific football heritage. I think they have one of the best winning percentages of all time because they're a relatively young program, and all they've done is win pretty much every year since they were created about 15 years ago. Westmoreland County showdown again, Mount Pleasant area at Burrell. It's a little bit different of a Buccaneer squad this year. Obviously, with Sean Lyotta the last couple of years, they're running Trey Corey like 50 times a game. Now it's more quarterback running with Perkins. They still have Corey there, so it feels like Dom Girardi's going to have to figure out and unlock the best version of the Bucs offensively. I would imagine that's going to be a game where there's going to be a heck of a lot of running on both sides of football. We know Jason Fazekas with that wing T likes to keep it on the ground, even if they are potentially without some guys like Stephen Pradina. I don't know that many people expected Laurel Highlands at Southmoreland to be a matchup of the unbeatens, but that's exactly what's going to happen this week. And the Scotties are absolutely rolling. We briefly mentioned Anthony Smith earlier, Flick. I know that, he's not at Southmoreland. He's not in Westmoreland County playing football anymore. It is worth noting he is now playing in West Virginia at Fairmont because they have different rules with one transfer allowed for high school students. To be completely honest, it's really just a messy situation, and it stinks for people here in the WPIL that they're not going to get to see one of the more gifted quarterbacks. Now, does he spend the next 3 years down there? Who knows? But, not Southmoreland, not Seton LaSalle. Now he's out of the WPIL altogether.
Yeah, out of the state altogether. And like you said, maybe something changes next year. We don't know. Maybe he likes the situation that he's in and stays there. But it's just a shame, too. Again, we don't necessarily know that this the whole situation, why he transferred. You hear things are written.
They have argued that there's legitimate grievances for why they needed to leave Southmoreland.
Yeah.
But ultimately it was ruled that it was still athletic intent driven.
It's amazing, Sean, just stepping away here for a second. We hear a lot of things. We do. And there's very little of those things that we actually comment on publicly. It just, so there's things that you hear about with this,
You
as
hear
well.
one side of it.
Yeah, right. That's true too. And that's why you don't want to really comment on it, because you're only getting one side. But the bottom line is for a small school like Southmoreland to have a Division I caliber quarterback and then to lose that quarterback, it is a shame, because again, they don't grow on trees anywhere, let alone a small school like Southmoreland.
No, but I would say that Wolf has filled in
Hey,
more
4
than
touchdown passes last week, man. He's rolling right now. He's howling,
Yeah, I mean,
if you will.
Good one. They've got a good team. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know that he's ever going to be the player that Anthony Smith would have been this year, but I think they are still going to be a real contender in Class 3A, just because they've got a lot of talent, and it seems like they've got a coach who knows what he's doing in Dustin Show. So an easy guy to root for there. That should be an intriguing matchup. 2-0 Mustangs at 2-0 Scotties. Another Westmoreland County Clash, Greensburg-Salem at Valley as well. The Vikings really struggling. They are 0-2, and they are down pretty bad right now. We mentioned some players moving to Borough via transfer as well. Yawk at Ringgold. We talked about that with Coach Hoffer. It seems like all of a sudden Ringgold has become a pretty decent program. It wasn't that long ago that they had a terrible losing streak, but they are much, much better. So the Cougars kind of playing up there, and that will be a stiff test for them as they look to go to 3-0. Apollo Ridge at Greensburg Central Catholic. It was the Jayhawks that defeated the Vikings last week. Now the Centurions will look to do the same. Did you notice it's a little weird? Jeanette starts against Mount Pleasant, and then GCC plays Mount Pleasant, and then Jeanette plays Apollo Ridge, and now GCC plays Apollo Ridge. Watch your head.
I'm not used to wearing a hat.
We can't help but compare using the transitive property at this point, right? I mean, you see Jeanette lose to Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
You see GCC blow them out. Well, now we're going to look at whatever the final score is, Centurions and Apollo Ridge, and compare that to the final of Jeanette's this past week.
You know what this does? It probably allows GCC to have a bit of an advantage watching film, too, because they're seeing Jeanette as they study their next opponent, because they just played Jeanette. So not that they need to study more of Jeanette, I guess. They've already seen enough of them, but it makes it interesting that way, too.
Yeah, very interesting scheduling indeed. Lastly, at the high school level, get that hat turned around.
Yep.
Best center at Monessen. And then a couple of college games. Seton Hill's second game of the season. This one will be on the road. We'll make the trek down to West Virginia to play at West Liberty. We'll have that one at 1 o'clock on Saturday. At that same time, St. Vincent opens its 2025 campaign, hosting Hilbert to wrap up the Westmoreland County slate. Flick, anything that stands out to you or anything that you want to mention?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. Good show.
Kidding. I am looking forward to going to West Liberty on Saturday.
Have you ever been?
I have, a long time ago.
They were in the same conference years ago, right?
Yeah, they used to play in the old WIVIAC, the West Virginia Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. Now it's the Mountain East Conference. But Seton Hill used to play there. And so I'm looking forward to going to West Liberty on Saturday. And just
Is it basically Wheeling?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's around there. It's about an hour and a half.
Because I had relatives who grew up in Wheeling, and like West Liberty to me is basically Wheeling.
It's basically the same area. Yeah, it's about the same distance. So that should be fun. And as always, just looking forward to the games on Friday. I love the fact that week 0 obviously has a lot of Westmoreland County battles, and then week 1 has it too. With Hemphill and Kiski, and of course Latrobe and Norwin, and Jeanette and Ligonier Valley, and some others. So should be a lot of fun. Week number 1, getting ready for it, buddy.
Absolutely. Well, week number 2.
I'm sorry, I screwed up. Week number 2, getting ready for it, buddy.
Yes, but it's the third week of games. Just to
week
keep all that.
Week number 3, getting ready for it, but no, it's week number 2.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned this periodically as well. We've got plenty of articles all throughout the week. Of course, we have the preview article that's either very late Thursday night if you're a night owl, or very early Friday morning. And what we've added this year across all of our social media, I believe, or at least several social media sites, are the video recaps of the games as well.
Getting great feedback. My neighbor Sean, actually just said something to me about it, about the recaps. Hey, I see you guys are putting up recaps now. I said, that's Sean Myers, man. That's Sean Myers' idea. coming up with all of them, buddy.
Yeah, we keep trying to raise the bar with our coverage of high school football. Well, Flick, I think we've raised the bar enough for one night. Let's put a bow on this one. Good talking, and looking forward to plenty of great action on Friday night. Of course, check out our website for all the live broadcasts, for all the scores as well. And of course, we will have both the video recaps of the games that we broadcast, and then we'll have written recaps of all the games across Westmoreland County. That'll do it here tonight. We'll catch you again next Wednesday, 7 p.m. for another edition of Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
Good night.